All right, just a quick one before we get going. So please don't take anything you hear in today's episode as financial advice. Please speak to a trained professional if you do wish to participate in markets. Crypto is inherently risky and you will lose all your money, particularly if you listen to us for financial direction. So enough of that. Please give us a like, subscribe, enjoy the show, and see you next time. All right, welcome back. Another episode, a little bit different this day, but today we've got Andy. If you don't know what these guys are up to at the minute with the RollUp, then you are not, in my book, considered as in the weeds and in the trenches of research. Andy, how are you doing?
Man, we're in opposite parts of the world. I've just woken up. It's probably the last one of the day for you, so appreciate you making some time for this. And yeah, I'm doing quite well. Got a full slate of calls today. The one I'm looking forward to the most is with the Avo founder Julian. I think they just announced Celestia underneath, so I'm gonna just kind of pick and prod until I find out what the airdrop criteria are gonna be.
Honestly, where it's hilarious is like people will always like mention and always ask like, oh, what are some of like the main benefits and how do you kind of grow an account? And I'm like, honestly, in the most selfish way physically possible, it's because you'll get at least a foot in the door or be able to have conversations with founders and just be able to like slyly ask them for alpha. And it's just like people want to create all these long form threads, they want to kind of get like decent well paid, and I'm like, yeah, fuck that. I want as much alpha from the source as physically possible.
That's the thing, man. Not only just the alpha, but speaking to founders is a really nice way to develop conviction in a thesis, right? Like I've been big on this like modular thesis thing for the last couple of months, and it's only came as a result of speaking to so many people in the kind of trenches in the space and be like, oh shit, like this is going to be huge, you know. And so just like in the investing world, you know, to have those convictions is powerful because you just don't sell early enough. Like you just don't sell too early, right? And so like picking and prodding for the alpha, and then also like speaking to enough people and like one narrative or a couple niches, you're like, oh shit, like okay, like this is pretty powerful, let alone the entire broad crypto space as a whole. So
yeah, we were just speaking about that on Shitcoin Church live stream, and I was saying about so Messi actually came back and was on the Hero Lab stream last night, and he was talking about these top 3 conviction players. And I was like, the thing is, what will happen here? He's mentioned them, and obviously he's kind of like god tier investor trader. He says he's not a trader. He's definitely a fucking trader. But what will happen there is he'll have been researching that shit for months. He spoke to the founders. He'll have been checking every single buy and sell that comes in. If there's any funkiness happening on chain, he'll know each of those investments inside out. But as soon as he speaks about it on a stream, you're going to get a lot of people just coming in off the back of it and then just driving the price up, not having a clue what that specific project does. And then you also get the reflexive nature of the negative side of that on the downside. People have won in, like maybe someone's sold, took a little bit of profit, and then like you get that cascade back down. And if you actually understand what you were buying in the first place, you'd just be able to weather that storm, and you're potentially going to be missing out on some serious multiples from an investment perspective. But having that conviction, I've got positions that I don't even know what the value of them are. So I'm just completely underwriting them until at least the end of the year and beyond. So it's just like, yeah, you have to kind of have that conviction. Sometimes it can go either way. You'll really like a position, you speak to a founder, and it's just like, this guy's full of shit. But same time, double-edged sword, isn't it?
yeah, it does happen. And it's funny because like some of my highest conviction plays currently are like on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Something like I have a good chunk of pudgy penguins, which have now significantly increased in value. I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to sell those anyway, so hardly even count those as part of my portfolio. And then I look to the right of on the right curve, and I'm like deep in like this modular thesis about trying to position onto like the alternate EigenDA interop narrative with zk-IBC, and like just like, dude, there's just no room for the middle curve, man. You gotta stay on the far ends.
I honestly, I'm hoping so hard about the Pudgys player because we were speaking about conferences before we went live, and I was just saying, talking 2049 last year, we were doing a lot of media there, and the second day I turned up, we had way too much to drink the night before, and I was like, "Shit, I've got to interview loads of people here." We were interviewing like Maker and Pudgys, and Luca was like, "Can't tell you what's happening, obviously, but on the 26th, there's going to be a big announcement." And I know Luca's like he's a great salesman, he's a great marketer. And I was just like a little bit hungover, and I was like, "Yeah, I was just thinking about that." And it's like, bam, Walmart, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, what have I done? What have I done?" So coping
Yeah,
hard on
I
that one.
mean, it's glaringly obvious that they're that the Pudgy Fingers are becoming the NFT leader. I mean, it's just not even
Yeah.
close. I think they'll flip the apes. I mean, probably within, I don't know, a month or two, the apes will cope, and I think it'll be better for the entire space. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The thing with those kind of situations is there's just like, even though it's a super left curve play at NFTs as a whole, like it's just, I don't know, there's still a little bit of thought in there, but uh, I don't know. You've been DJing hard on the Solana memes and NFTs. I'm curious to kind of hear what's been going on there. I've got a nice bag of whiff, but again, it's just something where I'm like, I'm not touching this. It's either mooning or I'm just not going to see it again. And, so yeah.
That's what you got to do. I think it's times like these where the market's like relatively flat sideways, chop city if you're gonna be fucking around with leverage, which I wouldn't recommend that at this point in time. And those are just like high leverage, kind of like options. It's gonna be worthless, or it's gonna be like high payoff. And it's interesting because it feels like Solana meme coin culture is, like for so long it was just insert dog, insert inu, insert some shit on Ethereum, and it got like completely stale. And then I think because of how cheap it is and how easy and quick to deploy stuff is, like they've got a lot more creative this time around. Let's put it that way. And it's actually coming down to how you're basically putting a bet on virality, like how viral can this get? And the dog with hat for me is that is so normie friendly. It's got a hat. It's a cute dog with a hat. Like everyone can get that, from being a complete idiot to not knowing. There's some that are like a little bit more abstract, like a gently used Honda Civic. It's
Yeah,
just like
dude,
it's fucking hilarious, but
it is pretty
like
good.
these people are gonna look at you and be like, what? So I think those kind of have like their own ceiling. That Stanley one that is out now, obviously with what's happening with Stanley Cups, is like their memes are absolutely incredible. But like for me, it's just this whole kind of new meta of how do you bet on people's attention, and there's a lot of people paying attention to that kind of shit. And yeah, it's similar sort of, I did write this in like the recent thesis that we pushed out. I was like, NFTs were last cycle very easy to adopt. People can understand investing in a picture, and obviously they were all going up, and celebrities had them. But this time around, it's like they're NFTs without pictures, if that makes any sense. It's like you're still betting on mimetic value, I think. So that's kind of the way I'm kind of looking at it and approaching. It's completely like stupid and backwards, but it's happening, and a lot of people making money. So
Yeah, I paid NFTs last cycle and not going to do that this cycle. Um,
yeah,
I just remember being in DeFi trenches in 2020 and just being like so entrenched in like yield farming and like all the different intricacies. And then looking at NFTs and apes for like 3 to 5 ETH and being like, this is so stupid. But I had so much freaking spare ETH in that I didn't realize 3 to 5 months later that I'd be looking at the unraveling of a bunch of Ponzi's and then this birth of a new asset class and like the realization of like, oh man, so this DeFi 1.0 was all just a bunch of shenanigans, and now we're on to NFTs. And is it too late? And it still wasn't too late, but yeah, I think it's something to be said about having that left curve non-leverage to satisfy any like gambling itch with a small amount, and then furthering your financial and mental stability with like these higher time preference and more technical convicted bets. So um,
yeah. I wanted to actually ask you about like the origins of the roll up, and like kind of fill people in if they're coming in cold. I know Twitter algorithm never really works in the good guys' favor. Like we
yeah,
we we the reach. We do okay for reach, but I think the people who are actually working on interesting and good shit compared to your Moonboy, Threadboy accounts, like
Dude,
often
it's
get separated. But
ridiculous. And even I
I
just started posting a little like, oh, tokenless modular airdrop like content. Not even putting airdrop, just tokenless protocols. I'm interested. 100K impressions, 300K. It's just like, dude, are you kidding me? It's like, God damn it. But yeah, man. So I went to school in Florida. I did for about 2 years. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to do like a normal path. So after about a year and a half in school, I found this little niche corner of Twitter called Money Twitter. Basically, just a bunch of guys online making money, whether it be e-commerce, online marketing, um, info products, Shopify, client work, agency work, crypto, trading, all these different things. And so I ended up just kind of getting in, like just fully diving into this at a young age, at like 18. Um, Previously, I had messed around with crypto, and in university, my current co-founder and I were a prominent force in the university blockchain club, which kind of piqued our interest there. But after that, I really dove into this online marketing realm, and at the end of my sophomore year, I had gotten straight Fs in my sophomore classes, but I had a consistent stream of income and a nice foundation in the bank from doing copywriting and long form sales writing, email marketing, and general kind of personal brand things here and there. And so I ended up just dropping out and taking a gap year that, now it's been 6 years, and I've not really, looked back and gone back to finish, and ended up moving states, moving, my entire circle of influence from my kind of college buddies to living with some pretty successful guys who were like 21, 22, and I was 19. And we just worked for like 2 years. And that really set me on a whole different path. Started traveling, went to Colombia, went to Europe, went down to some other cool places in the States, California, Arizona. Started meeting other guys in this kind of sphere, and really started to like have my direction change. And I ended up kind of taking a pause on a lot of that work, and this was about early 2020, late 2019, and somehow I found DeFi, man, and I think it was on through CoinGecko. I was just looking through the coins one day because I basically paid my tax for all the work and all the income that I had for about a year and a half, 2 years, and I was just sitting on a nice little stash of cash, and I was like, well, what do I do now? So I started looking through crypto, and I saw like Aave DAI, like A DAI and Compound ETH, and I was like, what the hell is all this ETH and A DAI? It's like, what is this? So I Googled it, and I think I found the Define and Bankless and a couple other guys, and I was like, oh, this is super interesting. So I just remember spending like 3 to 5 days, just like all day reading about all this stuff, and I was like, holy crap, this is wild. We can actually do things on chain now. Like, it's not just like buying white paper coins. So I called up my friend Rob and was like, yo, man, like, I know it's been a while since we've, been in contact, but we got to do something in this. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm still in college. Like, let's do something. I'm a bit busy. I'm trying to finish my degrees, blah, blah. I was like, all right, bet. So I just kind of started pushing. We launched our newsletter, launched our podcast. It was DeFi Slate at the time. And yeah, I went through that entire period of DeFi summer, and, persisted through the bear market, some bad decisions, bad businesses, bad vibes, bad market, just everything not great, but somehow kind of pushed through and made it, and rebranded to the RollUp, which is our focus on rollups, which are Ethereum scaling solutions. And really just now diving deeper into like modular rollups, this thesis about modular blockchains, and doing angel investing, advising, kind of a lot of similar kind of like sponsorship and marketing work. And yeah, man, just that's the full story. And it's been a wild journey, to be honest, just to look back and be like, wow, like first you got to get over like the mental hurdles that you have taking a contrarian path, let alone all your friends and family and others, and then dealing kind of with the ups and downs of the instability of being an entrepreneur, and then also being an entrepreneur in crypto. So it's been a very challenging and rewarding path. And yeah, man, that's kind of like the backstory.
That's sick. Yeah, I think there's a few points in there where I've always been one where it kind of encourage people to not go down the well-trodden path, because I think I did that myself, and I've always never been satisfied, particularly in any line of work. And I don't know if that's just like my personality type, but I always feel like the likes of yourself, of a lot of people in this industry, they were just never built for like that general 9 to 5. They're all extremely entrepreneurial. They're all wanting to actually do something and kind of just have like a better life for themselves, you know. And it's just not like some of my friends back home, and I know for a fact they fucking hate going to work on a Monday. They'll get back on a Friday. They'll just go and get absolutely hammered over the weekend, then start it all again. It's just like I'm
It's
not
a
doing that
vicious
shit.
cycle.
Yeah, and it's just like this is like one of the best industries and outlets that is interesting enough, has so many inefficiencies where there's that many opportunities. It's very, very difficult to not get distracted and go and try and chase them, particularly if you've got like a sole focus, like a media company. And also the fact when you said you kind of got yourself surrounded by kind of like-minded people as well. So like that completely resonates. Like I'm from a part of the world that doesn't really have a lot of enthusiasm for people that are actually going out and trying to do something a little bit different. And there's kind of this crabs in a bucket mentality where if you look like you're actually going to actually do something unique and a bit special, they're wanting to claw you back down so to make themselves feel a little bit better. So see a lot of kind of similarities and a lot of kind of mirrored paths there. But yeah, I think you become a product of your environment, don't you? So like the more like successful people and more optimistic people out there that you surround yourself with, it just completely opens doors that you'd never ever be able to get through if you just kind of resting on your laurels and just going through everyday life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what's crazy is the online community kind of open that possibility and open those doors for people who want to take advantage of them in the sense where, you know, well, like you mentioned in your hometown, it'd be tough to find people that you kind of gel with in this similar kind of mindset of like ambition. In America, it's a little different. We that culture is a little bit more established and kind of there, but it's still not the same as like, you know, like when I logged on when I was 18 and saw these guys were just hustling and getting after it and had a different, you know, outlook on just all different parts of life, with, you know, from sports to porn to how they eat, to what they put in their mind, to what they listen to, the music, all these different things. It's not just like, oh, I like to make money. It's like the way that I would like to live my life is like a balanced whole. And so what happened online is you could then find a lot of these people and make a circle with them, and then even end up connecting with them in the real world, which is still weird to grasp these days, but it's becoming more and more normal. I just remember being like with this chick, and you know, I was like 19, I think, getting ready to leave, and I would just go to the library every day in university and just skip all my classes and just go work on the business stuff. And I remember one day I was chilling with her, and she's just like, "So you're just gonna work?" This is like pre-COVID and pre kind of like remote work. You're just gonna work from your computer all day and not be in the office, not be social with anybody. You're just gonna do this. And I was like, yeah, pretty much. She's like, you're crazy. That sounds awful. Like that's for like 2 years later. It's like entire world's working from their computer, just trying to gamble it and make it on freaking GameStop. And it's like, dude.
And why did you choose? I think I know the answer to this, but why did you choose to niche down into a specific of? And there is a lot. It is quite an expansive niche. I will give you that, but kind of like roll-ups in particular, and like I suppose more adjacent, you're getting this kind of modularity narrative built off the back of it as well. Was that just something that you knew that was going to pique your interest for a long period of time? Like what was the reason for niching down?
Yeah, I mean, DeFi Slate was very much the earliest days of DeFi, where it was like there. I knew every project, like legit. If there was a new project launching in DeFi, we were gonna, you know, we were in there. It was like there was 10, 15 projects, and then 50, then 75, right? Whereas now it's like, I mean, I can't even fathom how many
Probably about
projects.
50 today.
Yeah, like 25 today have just launched. So it's like, geez. Um, and so that with a combination of wanting kind of like this new energy and also seeing the trend of just kind of like L2s. Like we knew that rollups were going to be kind of the focus point for Ethereum scaling based on Vitalik's rollup centric roadmap. And so for us, it was an easy decision to kind of push that path forward and niche down for like, the betterment of the business. You have a more niche community. You can either charge premium prices, or at least you get people that come to you for a specific reason rather than just kind of being like a do-it-all in a way. And then this modular theme just kind of blew up in our faces, man. I mean, it just, I was with the CMO of Celestia for a week in Amsterdam. And we just kind of game planned a lot about how we can grow this. This was a couple months back. And so since then, I just kind of really pushed that hard. Also, the Celestia airdrop was just pretty solid. And then I just tripled down at the lows. Like literally people didn't claim. And I was just like, dude, nah, I'm buying more. This is going to freaking send. And so that thing sent. So, that also like has now, I've got a personal bag in the horse, and then we're just angel investing into a ton of these projects. And I've met with a lot of them. And we're going to co-host Modular Day. And we're throwing Modular March, which I've actually added you into the chat. I don't know if you checked your Telegram much on the main account, but yeah, so that has just been now kind of a further niche and extension. And there's a little bit of like hype and narrative riding with that one, but I also think genuinely that idea is going to be the future of blockchain. So it's like, if we can build rollups that are like modular with their DA and VM layers and ultimately settle to Ethereum or even to a different settlement layer, I think there's a lot there that's pretty powerful. So
I don't think you're going to be short for content.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it seems like everyone's partnering up with Celestia, and like Eigen hasn't even launched and Avail hasn't even launched yet. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those play out.
Is there because you have a very unique perspective on this in that area of the industry, what are there any projects or protocols or ideas that people are sleeping on? We obviously know like your big swinging dicks in the room, but are there any that even if it could be a hit and a miss, is there anything interesting that you're seeing on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple interop protocols that are cool. Like we know about Hyperlane and all the current bridges, but I met with the founders of Union. These guys are so smart, doing like ZK based bridging, ZK-IBC. That stuff's super cool, and trying to like kind of try to really change the cross chain space. I got a pitch deck for this AI DA layer called Zero Gravity. That looks super freaking cool. I couldn't even find them on Twitter, so that's how early it is. And I think that something like that could work using like bringing AI on chain for data publishing. Let's see. There's a couple cool ZK VMs also coming up. Like Nil Foundation is something cool. I think Initia is also one of them. So those are interesting. But frankly, man, I'm like the big swinging dicks are the ones that are the most exciting because they're actually like really good tech, and I think they're going to be like the leaders of the stack. So like all the ones that one would mention these are the airdrops for TIA stakers. Like those are actually the ones that I think will do well. But yeah, there's definitely a couple sleepers, and I think it's a little too early for a lot of copycats and a lot of people just jumping on the narrative. So it's like I think the quality of the projects are still really good. I think over the coming months we'll see quite a bit more kind of copycats happening.
How big can Dimension be, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to compete with Ethereum at the settlement layer. I think frankly, all of these projects are dependent on the FDV of Celestia. So if Celestia can get to 100 or 200 bill, then I mean, all of these airdrops will be significant. Even if they can just get to, I basically just look at as Dimension as like the second project now. alt layer just launched today, but I don't know if that they're going to have as much pull as Dimensional because of their airdrop and just because of the narrative. But I think that they'll do well too. So I think Tia I think of Tia as like the gold of the basket, and just everything else just kind of is like a beta play. So if Tia's at like 15 to 20 billion right now, like yeah, I could easily see 7 to 9 FDV for Dimension. I have no idea what that puts it at in price, but yeah, I think Tia could get to 100 to 300 billion FDV, especially if things get wild or even higher. So that that would put a large price target on a lot of the modular bets, as well as a significant multiplier for anybody who got into like the early rounds.
No, 100%. And like I've been trying to figure this one out, and it's pretty hard to kind of forecast. But what happens in the DA space? Does it become a race to the bottom in fees? Do they become commoditized as individual products? Do they look for different verticals? Like, how do you think that kind of plays out?
Yeah, so I think it's not necessarily a commodity in terms of race to the bottom, but what it is that it becomes a world where the differentiators perhaps come from what other things that these teams might offer, as well as just like from like the BD and kind of other support side of things. Also, I think that the big impact here is going to come on the sequencer. So basically, what happens when rollup sequence transactions, they earn all the fees from the transactions, then they have to pay for DA costs. They have to pay to batch transactions, post them back, right? And then there's usually a surplus of profit left over, which in Optimism's case, they give out to grants, and to Arbitrum, they probably do grants too, and kind of to each their own. But I think what DA is going to do, and what the modular kind of thesis is going to do, is going to force the decentralization of sequencers, because realistically, if we're going to drop costs like by 100x for fees, sequencers aren't going to make that much money. Especially even with just EIP 4844 coming in. And so I think that the era of centralized sequencers is on its way out, which then brings a whole nother conversation as to like how sustainable rollups are as businesses, and like does Base want to decentralize their sequencer and just lose this massive revenue profit machine that they have 24/7. And so I guess to like answer your question, I think that the value accrues back to the users in terms of cheaper fees, better experience. I think alternative DA layers are going to force decentralization of sequencers, and I view not necessarily as a race to the bottom, but as a betterment of experience for all, in terms of like where the value is actually being accrued. Like, why does the Optimism Foundation need like another 50 million? Like, yeah, they give it back to the community, which is great, but ultimately it's like it'd just be better if users didn't have to pay all those fees. And so yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. I like that answer. And what you're in another unique position with the crazy rapid proliferation of L2s and the experimentation of L2s. Are you seeing anything? Obviously, we've seen Blast and Manta. Are you seeing anything a little bit even more out there, like some form of Frankenstein chain? I know Eclipse looks.
yeah.
I personally think it's very, very interesting. But is there anything else a bit funky on the horizon that people could be aware of?
Oh man, I got a pitch deck for some absolute interesting project on Blast. Trying to do like a launch pad, and I'm just like, holy crap! Type of project. It's like, yeah, we don't even have a SAC. Just send us the tokens here, and we'll send them back. Bro, fuck, bro. Like,
Man, we're in the
the
wrong industry. We
state
should be doing
of
that.
Blast. Gosh.
I'll leave our
Yeah,
multi-sig address below if anyone wants to just send us. You'll never get the
yeah. We're
tokens.
launching a new L2. Exactly. Um, Yeah, so I kind of worry about the state of L2s in that sense. I don't necessarily have a specific one that I'm like very interested in, other than those two, as far as like Max DJ. And honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with how Manta's price action has done, considering there's like just a lot of like shenanigans that happened. Because from my perspective, especially like we basically did this transition to the RollUp about a year ago, maybe like 8-9 months ago. And at that point, it was like very much L2s were like this like pedestalized, like lovely Ethereum aligned infinite garden type of thing, right? And so now it's like these motherfuckers are turning them into just straight degen Ponzi's, and it's just like you got like OG builders that I'm talking to with like zk Sync and Tyco are like so Manta just launched, has $1.5 billion TVL, and they're just made of cardboard, and we're like, yeah, I mean that's the state of things. So, I mean, my words of wisdom would just be to like I would encourage experimentation and participation, not only for builders and participants, but I would always just encourage like respect your elders, like the scrolls and the zk Syncs and the Tycos and the Optimisms and the Arbitrums and like the OGs, because there's going to be a lot of options in the coming months, and I just think there's something to be said about from a fund security perspective to respect the OGs.
Yeah, zk's is a funny one. Do you think that is, despite products being live, do you still think that's a little bit too early from a technical perspective?
Yeah,
And the side
yeah,
question to that is, do users care?
yeah. You see, I think big brain gigachads care, and
Yeah.
so where there are big brain gigachads, there is money, and there will be innovation. The key problem with zk-Rollups is and zk tech is the proving time. So basically, like the objective is to get the proving time of the zk proofs significantly down, because right now like optimistic rollups don't have that problem. In fact, optimistic rollups don't even have fraud proofs in the current moment. It's just a centralized sequencer. So it's like basically there's no way for this to fail unless the centralized sequencer goes down or somebody hacks the optimism sequencer somehow, which is like all but guaranteed. Like no one's saying impossible, but it's like it's very unlikely. Whereas zk proofs, they rely on zero knowledge proofs, which take time to achieve what they call instant finality compared to optimistic rollups, which have the theoretical 7-day fraud proof window. But the issue is that still takes 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. So it's like if you want to do a transaction on zk rollup and then bridge off, right? You're stuck there waiting for this proof to go through, and so I think that's the big bottleneck until the proving time can basically achieve what users think is instant finality, which is like when you go on a cross bridge and send from our Arbitrum to Optimism takes 4 seconds, right? Until that is like the state of zk, then we have some work to do. And there's honestly talk that it might be like really, really, really hard to get the proving time down, if not like impossible. So be interesting to see what kind of mechanisms come out. But yeah, it's pretty early. I think it's good to invest in some of those projects, like as like at the early stage level. I'm just excited to see like what Scroll, zk Sync, Tyco, what other ones. I mean, I guess Polygon zk already had their coin. Like, I just be excited to see what those tokens do on the market, like just how people are viewing them, like speculating on them.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because you kind of alluded to it there, and it's kind of what plays out across the industry. Whereas it's kind of almost, apart from your top 50 projects, aside from that, additional utility is just as futile and is probably received with less excitement than stuff with absolutely nothing. Like if you look at what's funny is when you see meme coins starting to like go towards like building bots and like actually having revenue, it's just like game's over. Game's over. Like it's completely backwards. But it's all like people like the big shiny thing to speculate. But then you can obviously look at the fact where, yeah, you might actually gain some users off the back of it and stuff like that. But it must be so frustrating if you've worked, like your life's work is built into like this specific piece of infrastructure and people are just going. I think I seen Rollbit had 1000x leverage on WIF the other day, and I was just like, we stray further from God every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it bothers the builders that are here for the long term, but also I think that they'll have more prolonged success than those, who aren't. So ultimately, I think it all kind of plays out, and in the bear, that's when the kind of pain is felt for those who are kind of on that more degen track, where um, there isn't really much happening there other than speculation. Um, but it'll be interesting to see like this world of all these roll-ups, and then the idea behind these modular blockchains is like you make it as easy to launch a chain as you do a token. Anybody can launch a chain. I think it takes us out of this era of like expensive block space where you have to pay transactions on Ethereum, or roll-ups are already solve that, but then take it to like 10x or 100x levels where there's most apps have their own chain. A lot of interoperability questions, but I think it's super bullish. I'm very bullish on all the infrastructure that's been built over the last like 2-3 years. I think it's been very, very important for further adoption. But it's just like now we're like in a space of like what consumer apps like what's going to be the thing or two that's like whoa, like friend tech almost had it in a way. Like friend tech was close, like, but that shit's just gone down like completely down the drain. Like do you have any ideas? Like gaming is cool, but like I don't know, like there might be some hit games. Like I just and I feel for those builders who are trying to build that, because it's so much easier to just raise for infra, build some infra, do B2B within crypto, and ultimately like not achieve a whole lot in terms of like users, but have a product that has high big partnership and that you can kind of make money on. But like I feel for those who are building consumer apps, like it's like, well, damn, dude, you have to like. That's why I think kind of like what Pudgy Penguins is doing is super cool, because it's not just like it's like actually going out there and crossing the chasm of like crypto's here and people are here. Like bridging that gap is tough. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing, if you go on Pudgy Penguin's Instagram, there's absolutely zero mention of crypto NFTs. It's just cute pudgy cartoons, and it's delivered exceptional. I think they've got like millions of followers.
Yeah.
And that and like what I think gaming is getting right at this point in time, there's a couple of games like Shrapnel, Off the Grid, few others I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like they're actually just going right. We're a game first. It's just like everything on the back end is crypto rails, because it's great for proof of ownership, transferability, actually having in-game items represented as NFTs, if there's any in-game currencies and stuff like that. That just makes sense. It's already there in regular gaming, but it's not. It's on like obviously centralized servers that are just a complete fucking joke. And they're just leaning with like game first. You don't even need to know what's actually happening on the back end. If you want to take your in-game items and sell them on a secondary market, then great. We'll Trojan horse it that way. Whereas I think there's a lot of stuff, particularly that we are probably more in the weeds with in DeFi, and that like cry that they don't have the user base, then they don't do themselves any favor when it comes to like reducing the barrier to entry. UI UX is complete dog shit. Even like wallet infrastructure is so far behind everything else that we've built. But yeah, I still think we've got a long old way to go there.
Yeah. I also don't worry too much about the consumer facing side until really like this institutional stuff with the ETF and different things that I think is like almost it's like a precursor to the consumer side. It may not be directly obvious now, but more regulation, more people entering, more thought, more mind share towards this, I think leads to ultimately more builders and more ideas being thrown around. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, like it's just it becomes a world where there's so many things to build on, and like I think that this idea of competition in crypto is pretty funny. and I was talking to the founder from Lisk, and he's like, after 6 years, we're coming back to being an Ethereum rollup, and we're just going to be Ethereum aligned, and we're not going to try to compete. And I'm like, dude, yeah, like why? You know, and people, I talk to projects, I'm sure you do, and they're worried about the competitor there, and I'm just like, dude, like we're not thinking about this in the right way. Like,
Not big enough.
yeah, like man. So yeah, the competition state, I think is very. And when I talk to builders, I really try to. And Rob does a really good job of this too. My co-founder, he's like, "Yo, man, like you should actually just collaborate with them somehow and figure out, if not just to bring your products, to make your products better, but like there is no competition right now. Sure, your investors might think there is, but like man, it's very, I think adopting collaborative outward looking mentality is something that a lot of projects would greatly benefit from. And I think what it would also help to build better tech and better wallet tech, better apps. And yeah.
I think that plays perfectly into the modular thesis as well, because it inherently has to be collaborative. If you're
Rob says,
coordinating,
yeah,
yeah,
Rob says like his favorite thing is that everyone's friends. And yeah, I mean, it's still early, right? But everyone's
yeah.
friends.
There's time for fighting when you're worth $100 billion.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll come. You know, as the new DA layers launch and things, there will be spiciness. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, we're trying to build the best tech, and it's like, I think the modular thesis removes the single-mindedness of monolithic chains, of kind of like my L1's faster, cheaper, better, more secure than yours, this and that. It removes the just it removes that maximalism, right? That tribalism. Um, yeah, that's why I think I like it a lot. It kind of takes me back to the early DeFi summer days a bit.
Yeah, there's put money on the line. It begins to get really heated at times, doesn't it? But I
Yeah.
don't fucking. What do you think about alternate VMs? We had the Movement Labs guys on. I'm really starting to get intrigued by this kind of landscape that's developing.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just think the EVM is kind of like good for some cases, and it's good for the Ethereum alignment that it brings. But ultimately, Ethereum is moving more towards like a data availability roadmap and a data roadmap, less computational, which basically means like EIP 4844. They're trying to focus on data and less on like that, like like the VM side. And I think it makes sense. I'm sure the movement guys talk to you about all the kind of downfalls of EVM, and kind of how movement has better formal verification and has different security and smart contract auditing in real time, just different things that are very important. And I generally think that alternative VMs will, the biggest reason why I've invested at some early stage and why I'm very bullish is because of the onboarding of non-crypto native developers, which hopefully helps us with our previous thoughts here about 5 minutes ago about these, you know, consumer apps and these big things that could hit. Like, to me, it's like, I don't think people that know Solidity are going to be the ones that will build this next big thing. To me, it's like, it's a guy who's built in Java and TypeScript and in Rust and in Linux, who has some understanding of how large apps can be built, and then it comes in and is able to build. And so, like, for even if not just for it's a total failure, if there's just the onboarding of developers, that's something that I want to support with resources, time, efforts, and just see that forward, because to me that just makes sense. It's just, that's, regardless of what tech is more superior, the fact of the matter is alt VMs will onboard new developers from non-crypto native languages, which is, I mean, that's very bullish.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't have said better myself. Honestly, they're great dudes over at Movement Labs. I think they're leading the charge over there. And yeah, I think it's going to slowly play out. I think there will be a lot of pushback. You know, we were just saying there's a competition where there doesn't need to be at times, but it's like my shiny toy is better than your shiny toy kind of stuff. But as I say, people will vote with their activity. People will vote with their dollars, and you'll actually see it play out. So it doesn't matter how tribal the space can get at times. It's like people are going to go where They're at the best. You've got the best kind of infrastructure, the best tooling, best largest amount of users. Everyone's sick of going between the same 100 users in DeFi and beyond, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see it play out.
Yeah, I think Ethereum is really good as a settlement layer. I just don't know how great Ethereum is like at the virtual machine level based on all these hacks that we've seen. I mean, you see so many hacks.
Yeah.
So like my thesis with the modular stuff is like Ethereum is the best settlement layer. Sure, I support other L1s as settlement, but to me, it's like, why would you compromise at the most fundamental layer, at the most fundamental layer of security? So that's why I still remain pretty bullish on Ethereum in the modular thesis. Like, if there is a better settlement layer, which I think is going to be very, very tough to create, just because of you need years of Lindy effect, you need decentralized validator set, you need a ton at stake. So these are all problems and situations that take a while to build. But everything else in the modular stack, I'm pretty much just like is not really Ethereum at all. But I think the main way that Ethereum gets value from that is that I think the best, most secure rollups, whether it's with Celestia TIA and Avail and Cartesi VM, Movement VMs, Solana VM, whatever it is, I think they all kind of end up coming down to Ethereum, so ultimately, like I see it as, let's say Cartesi gets an app that is built on Cartesi VM that is absolutely killer, that scales to 100,000 users in a couple of weeks, 1 million, 10 million. Well, theoretically, all that value should still come down to Ethereum because it'll likely be settling there. And so the kind of sketchy part for the Ethereum thesis comes in if the modular stack starts to sway away from Ethereum as a settlement layer and starts to use others, then you start to question where does Ethereum and EVM fit in all of this, and does it? And so it'd be interesting to watch play out.
That's great from a speculator's perspective. Exciting times ahead.
Yeah, I think so.
What's next for you guys at the RollUp?
Yeah, I think so. We're gonna go to ETHender. We're hosting a couple events, co-hosting a couple events with some cool peeps. And then, March, we're throwing Modular March. We're going to try to just absolutely permeate all of the crypto minds with this modular kind of thesis, this modularism, not maximalism, doing tons of video content, educational content, game shows, kind of POAPs, NFTs, written content, and just really try to take grasp of this concept and shed light to the entire crypto Twitter and ecosystem on just kind of what is happening and why this is something to pay attention to and kind of how to participate in. So that's super exciting. Otherwise, man, just keeping heads down. It kind of took a bit of a slow kind of lull there for 2022 into 23, and towards the end of 23, we really started to ramp it up. So in crypto, it feels like when the opportunities are calling, you have to be on top of it and take advantage. And so I think for us, for this year, it's just all about staying focused and not burning out, but really, really staying at it as to the top of our game as best as possible, and kind of seizing the opportunity as it's here, and setting ourselves up with a bunch of different longer term investments at the early stage, and also just setting a foundation for future success to be able to last through the next bear, and also just see success in this bull. So yeah, we're heads down and really just enjoying the ride, man. That's
Sick. Yeah, absolutely. That's sick. And where do you want people to be directed to? I'll leave it all in the description regardless, but give people a shout out for the socials or the site or wherever you want them directed.
Appreciate that for sure. So I'm on Twitter at A3Ys Andy, so A Andy, and then we are at the RollUp CO, and then our website is therollup.co. You can find us there as well. Otherwise, we do a lot on Twitter, also on YouTube at the RollUp CO. And I appreciate you having us, Grant. It's been a pleasure. And I look forward to just growing alongside each other and also embracing the collaborative mindset when it comes to media and socials and growth and just information, right? So, appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, but we'll likely do a couple of more of these over the next year or so. But loved seeing you guys grow up, take the market by storm. The content's absolutely sick, first class. There's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing in the industry. I'll put that in the nicest way possible, and I hold you guys in the highest regard. So, from someone who sees how the sausage is made, these guys are legit. Go and check out, go and support as much as you can. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.